What's up, everybody? I'm David Hain. Welcome to episode 271 of the A2D From Addict to Disciple podcast. If you enjoy this podcast, please like, subscribe, follow, and share the link with your friends. If you'd like to get our curriculum, you can get the paperback or ebook of From Ashes to Destiny on Amazon. Today's episode, number 271, is entitled Spiritual Warfare. And this is the second Wacky Wednesday episode for today. As we're going through the chapters of the From Ashes to Destiny curriculum, we're in phase 4, which deals with learning to walk in freedom. And this is the first story from chapter 14 in phase 4. And it's a story of spiritual warfare and other attacks that we experienced, and you can relate to as attacks on you and your strength in your recovery. I'll begin the story now. Very shortly after we began our ministry to heroin and crack addicts in Philadelphia, we realized our naivete in the area of spiritual warfare. God put us on a crash course of practical experience and classroom learning at the same time. Almost daily, we experienced attacks against our family, our health, our marriage, our finances, our ministry, our happiness, our peace. We witnessed firsthand spiritual attacks against people who came to minister alongside of us. Through these experiences, we saw the need to be trained in battle if we were to minister behind enemy lines. In His faithfulness, God opened doors for us to be trained by a group of ministers from Argentina who came to Philadelphia. We had the awesome privilege to sit in classes held by ministers trained in the teachings of Derek Prince and Francis McNutt. On our honeymoon in Belize, God gave unction to a pastor to share with us how a group had moved into a house across the street from his house and announced that their mission was to pray for the demise of his ministry. I experienced the same thing on 2 occasions. A Muslim stopped me on the street to say he was sent in advance of planting a mosque in this neighborhood, specifically to stop me from turning so many addicts to Jesus. A woman walked up to me on Kensington Avenue and asked, "Are you Pastor Dave?" "Yes," I said. "Who are you?" "I'm a Wiccan witch," she replied, "and I wanted to let you know that you have made my prayer list. I'm praying every day for the breakup of your marriage and the collapse of your ministry." While on an outreach in New Orleans during the Mardi Gras, I was informed that followers of voodoo prayed over the beads as they arrived in the city. What were the prayers? That everyone who put on the beads would be subject to the spirit of lust. One afternoon in Cadillac's house, we were all holding hands in a circle praying when a man on my left, Ahmed, began to squeeze my hand so hard I thought he was going to break every bone in my hand. At the same time, Ahmed began to shake violently and rock back and forth so hard that I feared he was going to pull me over. Finally, in prayer, I called out, "In the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, I command every spirit that is not of Him to be still." At that instant, Ahmed went limp, and his grip on my hand loosened. When we finished the prayer, Ahmed walked quickly through the doorway, and as soon as he was outside of the house, he began to shake and convulse, and he ran away. Many addicts in detox over the years have told me about voices they heard telling them, "You're no good. You'll never stay clean. Your family won't accept you anyway after how you've hurt them." Another tactic the enemy uses as addicts try to get clean is to dangle temptation in front of them. Countless addicts have left detox AMA, against medical advice, to go out on a date, to go to a party, or because someone in detox with them said they still had some drugs in a stash. Well-meaning wives have talked their husbands into leaving rehab early with words like, "I miss you so much, honey. The kids and I can't make it without you. You're strong enough to stay clean, and I'll help you stay clean. You know who keeps coming around? And I'm getting weaker. I'm afraid I might give in to his advances if you don't get home soon." Shaw. Good topic for today for all of us as we look at our recovery. So let's do some questions regarding this attacks on you and your strength and recovery. Number one, we experienced almost daily attacks on our family, health, marriage, finances, ministry, happiness, and peace. What aspects of your life seem to always be under attack as you try to stay strong in delivery? How do you deal with the attacks? Number two, we realized we were working behind enemy lines and needed to get trained up. So I want to ask you, who is really in charge of what happens in the hood where you are? The residents, the dealers, the government, the loan sharks, the addicts, the police, the rehab, the homeless shelter, the outreach people? Who's in charge? Number three, several people felt called to move near to where I worked just to undermine my efforts. So I want to ask you, who is undermining the work of people in your area who are trying to help addicts? How are they doing it? Who is trying to undermine your recovery? And how are they doing it? Number four, many addicts who go to detox hear voices in their head saying, "You're no good, you'll never stay clean, your family won't accept you anyway." What do your voices tell you as you're trying to get clean and sober and get stronger in your recovery? Number five, many people in rehab are tempted to leave rehab early by friends and family telling them, "You look good, you're strong enough, I need you home because I'm getting weak." Who is tempting you to leave early? Why is it important to finish the program, to finish what you've started, and to finish what you've agreed to on day one? Do you think you can continue your healing process back in the same house where you were in active addiction? Who would be your support system? And how would it be if you return home and you're sort of half done, like a half-baked roast being taken out of the oven before it's ready to serve? Can that be harder on everybody in the house? And I want you to really get honest with yourself. Can people you've manipulated in your addiction truly become your support team? Can people who've been enablers to your addiction truly become your support team? And is it even fair to ask them to be part of your support team? Remember, your support team should be able to strengthen you in the daily attacks that are trying to sabotage your life, undermine your recovery, put doubt in your mind, and tempt you that you're good and don't have to keep working on your recovery. Wow, a challenging message today on spiritual warfare and the attacks that we all face. I want to thank you for listening to this episode of the A2D From Addict to Disciple podcast. And if you were challenged by this, I want to encourage you to reach out and talk to someone. You could message me on the link in this podcast or by email at davidfroma2d@gmail.com, or go to my website, www.froma2d.org, and click on the contact page. Keep listening to future podcast episodes, and as always, stay safe and stay resilient.